Greetings in the name of the Most High. It's a little bit dark this morning, but let's play ball. There's a number of issues we need to talk about. Um, I'm looking at Whoopi Goldberg's trouble, okay? But then I would like to just draw some analogies of certain situations. Now, we listened, Mitch McConnell had a controversial statement weeks ago. He's saying the African American vote is different from the American vote. Yes, he said it, folks. So this is Dred Scott 2.0, Dred Scott 2022. And Mitch McConnell wasn't lying. So was Joe Biden. Okay? When Joe Biden says, if you're black and you vote Republican, you're not black, they want to jump all over him. You see, my statement would have been, if you're black and you vote Republican, you're stupid. But you see, he couldn't say that. You see, this party is openly racist. Okay? When you see Mitch McConnell, who is married to an Asian, would sit around and allow Donald Trump to who insults his wife's heritage and do nothing about it, that means there's some kind of catch in the background. The benefits from allowing this to happen. So, you see, we always going to be regarded as second-class citizens. You see it unfolding in front of you. The thing is that if you are a minority, if you are the majority in this country, how could you sit up and vote for a party that's openly racist as the Republican Party? How could you do that and go to sleep at night? You see, a bunch of you are going to talk about, well, yeah, you're black, you're a Democrat. The problem is that's being the typical stereotyping type behavior. I am not Republican or Democrat. I'm an independent voter, okay? Bernie Sanders was my guy. The problem is I could never vote for a Republican being a black man because of the in-your-face racism. Do the Democrats have racists? Yes, it's in the closet. So I follow the philosophy of Dr. West. He says to vote for Democrats or Republicans is like voting for a calamity versus a disaster. You see, I chose the lesser of both evils because I know the difference between a calamity and a disaster. And I would explain it to you. A disaster is usually localized, but a calamity is more widespread. So I chose to vote for the disaster. This is how I vote. Okay? Moving on. Let's talk about why it's always the skinheads and all of these white supremacists gravitating to the Republican Party. Why is that? It's because they give them aid and comfort there. AKA this idiotic governor we have called Ron DeSantis. Do you see his reaction when those white supremacists showed up in Orlando? Instead of he gets out there and unequivocally condemn that kind of behavior, let them know that he would recognize their right to protest, but they're not welcome. That's all. He gone into this tirade about inflation and the Democrats are using this as an opportunity to smear him. Let me ask you a question. If you're not a racist, why would racist type people have an effect on your character? Is because you're somewhat racist. Because I've seen the laws that you passed, and one of them was that anti-riot law. Because we always have beef and we always hit the pavement. You actually pass laws that an individual, quote unquote, who feels threatened could run over protesters. Imagine that. knowing the stigma of being black in this country, you're going to give somebody the means to murder black people who peacefully protest in the streets. Think about that. You know what? I always say Florida should be chopped off at Palm Beach. You know, there are three of the most populous counties here: Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade. We pay the most taxes, most everything. While the racist North have all the power. They're a bunch of welfare recipients in the north of Florida. They dictate what we do down here, and we pay the most. This is what's going on. So that's why you pander to these racists. It's clear what you're doing. But yet, you got minorities would vote for this party. You know, it's incredible to see what's going on in this country. It's insane. I can't vote for you because I'm Moses. I know who the oppressor is. I'm not going to cuddle you, you little racist bastard, you. The other one is Whoopi Goldberg, okay? Let me tell you something. Whoopi spoke out of terms, but I understand what she was saying, okay? She was wrong, but I understand what she was saying, because it's the same epithet people use in this country when they confront black issues. They come up and tell you, oh, well, what about black and black crime? So Whoopi Goldberg was viewing it from those lenses without thinking. She was like, well, how could that be racism if it's white people killing white people? Okay, she didn't think about it. And that's all that is. Okay, slap her on the wrist and make her go back to work. Candace Owen had a controversial Hitler statement. Anything happened to her? No. Rush Limbaugh, Barack the Magic Negro, did anything happen to him? No. Okay? But the reason why I'm this irate is that I sit down and listen to all of these talking heads talking about insensitivity and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Let me tell you something. If you don't know, Israel has an apartheid government, okay? The Palestinians are people too. Nobody speaks about the calamity and the nightmare these people face because of an apartheid system. Nobody speaks about that. It's not all over the news. On top of that, you ever hear about the Falashas? Yes, they're the Ethiopian Jews. Nobody talks about the racism that they enjoy in that country every day. Okay? No CNN, no ABC, no Fox, no the Poverty Center. Nobody talks about what those black people endure in the state of Israel. Flat out racism. But you want to lump Whoopi Goldberg over her head for something that she misspoke. It's only one time. These people live this daily life under a racist system in Israel. You're not seeing no headlines about that. It even had a headline where they were sterilizing the Ethiopians to keep Israel white. Nobody talks about that. This type of behavior is insidious. I don't blame you for lumping Whoopi on her head, but you cannot lump Whoopi on her head and have the Palestinians suffering the way they do. You cannot lump Whoopi on the head Lights went out. I guess I was making too much sense. You can't lump whoopee on the head if you have the Falashas living in squalor, subservient jobs, police brutality. They live in their own separate community. They weren't accepted for a long time because they refuse to reconvert to that holiday called Hanukkah that is not in their tradition. They don't recognize it. It's not in the Torah. So you discriminate against them and have the audacity to tell them that they got to reconvert to your type of Judaism. This is the hubris that goes on in that nation and the downright racist nature of that nation. And nobody talks about it on the air in the United States. This is what is going on here. But we want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg and her misspoken words. Like Whoopi makes it a habit to do these things. She spoke out of term, and that's all it is. Take a lump and we move on. Listen, we got trouble in Israel. Racism is rampant there. Talk about that also.